What's going on, y'all? This is BoxingWave here to talk about I made a video not too long ago where I was speaking on losses in boxing, how a lot of fans criticize boxers for taking L's. I think a lot of fans are a little too rough on boxers. I think we're a tough crowd of fans compared to other sports. Like, we're never satisfied. I mean, you could say that about a lot of sports. You could say that about everything. But with boxing, which is it's not a team-based sport, we criticize the boxers even for wins sometimes, And I just want to talk about a pattern that I see. Now, I'm not going to speak long. This video is not going to be long. I wanted to speak on a pattern that I see with boxing fans. You're as good as your last fight. 1 minute you're mentioned in a top 5 pound for pound by most, and then the next minute, as soon as you take a loss or you don't look impressive in a fight, you're right back to being unmentioned. No one mentions you again. Look at Timothy Bradley. Ever since he lost to Manny Pacquiao, I don't see anyone mentioning him anymore. It's like he doesn't even matter at this time. It just goes to show how good did people really believe Tim Bradley was. Was it because he was winning? Because now that he lost to Manny Pacquiao, which was a respectable loss to me, in my opinion, the better man won that night, but he didn't get knocked down. He didn't get badly hurt. Both fights were close with Manny Pacquiao, one of the best fighters in this era. And people don't even mention him no more. We talk welterweights, and a lot of fans, they don't even mention Tim Bradley anymore. They're mentioning Thurman, Porter, Kell Brook, Marcus Maidana, or a bunch of guys that haven't lost lately. Well, just a few months ago, Tim Bradley was on top of the food chain. When you mention Floyd, when you mention Pacquiao, you mention Tim Bradley. And it's just a shame that this is why a lot of fighters, they're so careful. Or when they pick their fights, they're so careful about losing. And that's no excuse. Because as a fighter, you should want to prove that you're the best. You should fight the best, especially when you're the champion. You should fight the best fighters, the best contenders coming up. And then when you are on the come up, you should be fighting the best fighters, opponents out here for you can move to the top. The better fighters you fight, the quicker you move up. I can name several fighters. Look at Nonito Donaire. He loses to Rigondeaux. He's a guy that most people consider to be top 10 pound for pound. As soon as he loses to Rigondeaux, a guy that most people would put him in the top 5 of their pound for pound. I see most people, not everyone, but a lot of people put him on the top 5 pound for pound. And I did a video speaking on that the other day with Mayweather, comparing Mayweather and Rigondeaux. And at least 75% of the people that left comments in that video said that Rigondeaux is more technical than Floyd Mayweather. Okay? But Nonito Donaire loses respect for losing that fight. And now every time he fights, he gets criticized. He knocks out Darchinian, but everyone just talks about the hard time that he had in that fight. The Vegeta fight, how that fight ended. Everyone talks about, how he didn't look good in that fight. But right before the fight with Rigo, he was top 10. Top 10 pound for pound. There's so many fighters I can name. There was Lanny Lara. This is why these fighters say, you're coming off of a loss, it's good to just either get the rematch or jump back in the ring. If you have the options, jump back in the ring with another wolf, another good fighter, just to get back into the mix of things, because people, this is a tough sport. People forget about you right away. I see Eris Lanny Lara, and you got Andre going back and forth on Twitter, and Andre is also going back and forth with the Charlo twins. Lara needs to get back in there with Andre. Get back in there. If you don't get the rematch with Canelo, which we all doubt, get back in there with Andre. Andre is a WBO champ. Get back with an undefeated fighter like that. If you can get that win, your name will be right back in the mix. Because this is a tough crowd, and once you lose, whether people thought you lost or not, doesn't matter. It's a tough sport, and this is why you need to jump back in the ring with another beast. If people don't respect the win, or if you are coming off of a loss that was a close fight, get back in there with a beast. You know, don't do this Danny Garcia thing with Rod Salka, all right? Because now, look at Mauricio Herrera. People telling me that they think Herrera was the best light welterweight out there. They think he's the best. Why? Because he beat Danny Garcia. You know, I think he won the fight. I'm not ready to put him up there to be the best. But now Danny Garcia, he has no more respect. He gets no more respect. Another guy, top 10. A lot of people felt that he was top 10. Now he gets no respect because he should have lost that fight, all right? Most people think he should have lost that fight. But then what Danny Garcia messed up is by going and fighting Rod Salka, a guy that's not even in his division, okay? A guy that's not even ranked in his own respected division, you know? Ranked very high. I mean, ranked very low, I mean. You know, this is why fighters need to get back in the ring right away, coming off of a loss. And this is why the fans, they need to make their minds up, man. You know, if you think a guy is one of the best fighters, stick to that. Stick to what you say. I mean, unless he gets exposed, fighters get exposed, you know. We got I'm sorry, not Adonis Stevenson. Speaking of Adonis Stevenson, another guy, you know, just like Danny Garcia, you know, in a way. You know, he leaves HBO, doesn't fight Kovalev, fight that. And shout out to Hatman. Hatman made a good video about this the other day when he's speaking about Stevenson and Pascal possibly fighting. You know, give the fans what they want. The fans want to see you fight Kovalev. They want to see that fight more than the Hopkins fight. They want to see two knockout fighters get in the ring, jump in the ring. You guys are both champs in your respective division. Fight each other. You know, instead, he leaves HBO, goes to Showtime, goes to fight. People already are upset that you left, okay? You got Kovalev, you know, calling you out your name, disrespecting you, and you go over there and fight from 4 and almost lose that fight. You know, you get knocked down, picking an easier fight. You know, now people don't have respect for you at all. And now Hopkins is leaving. He's at Showtime, and he's not even fighting you. He's going over to HBO to fight Kovalev. See what I'm saying? You're as good as your last fight. You're as good as your last fight. And if your last fight wasn't impressive, or if you lost, or, you know, you didn't look good, go in there, prove that you're still one of the best. If people are considering you one of the best, go in there and do the same thing. You know, Danny Garcia, that's why he's having an issue now. People don't even mention him no more. You know, Tim Bradley, I hope he gets back and get a good fight. You know, get a big fight, look impressive. You know, get in there with one of the top guys that's available for you. You know, get in there with one of the top guys, because these fans are tough to please, and people will forget and lose respect quickly. You know, once you take that L, or once you don't look impressive in a fight, like Danny Garcia, you know, like Adonis Stevenson, Manny Pacquiao, same thing. All right, this is a fight that a lot of people don't like the fight. And it's a lose-lose for man, because if Algieri, even if he beats Algieri, if Algieri gives him a tough fight, a close fight, which is very possible, then, or you lose, then people are going to lose respect for you again. You know, people are going to say, oh, you should have never, you know, he never deserved to fight with Floyd Mayweather. He never deserved this, or he was always overrated. This is how the fans do. They flip-flop every single time. This is why you just got to pick the best fights for yourself. You know, you go and taking risks with these tune-up fights. These tune-up fights ain't what they used to be, man. These tune-up fights from Fora, you know, Mauricio Herrera, you know, these tune-up fights are tough fights. You know, you got to be careful. You pick these tune-up fights, you think they're a tune-up fight, or you think it's not the fight that people want to see, and it's a fight that is what people consider to be an easier fight compared to the main fights that the fans want. And you go in there and you end up getting knocked down, you know, getting a hard time. You end up losing, you know, or losing is just as bad as winning the fight and people think you lost the fight, you know. So I just wanted to make that point, man. Us as fans, listen, stick to what you said. If you think a guy's a top fighter, you know, don't crucify him for one fight. I mean, there are fighters that get exposed, you know. I mean, it happens. It happens from time to time. You know, some fighters are coming up, they're undefeated, they're knocking guys out. As soon as they get in the ring with a real fighter, you know, they get exposed. It could happen. But if there's a fighter that's been beating top guy from top guy, you know, top 10 fighters in his division, and he's beaten many of them, and he has a tough fight or he has a loss, and don't just you know, totally forget about the guy and totally forget that he exists, you know. I think this whole thing with Tim Bradley and a lot of these other boxers that's been in the game doing their thing for a long time, they get forgotten really easily, you know, and the fans start flip-flopping and changing their mind, and they just don't even mention them no more. All right, so I'm not gonna speak long, you know. I see you interview with George Groves. I think it was on Boxing News 24. See him calling out Bika and Darrell. He's saying he could beat both. Now, I don't think he should get a shot at the title if coming off of 2 losses against Groves. You know, I think he does somewhat needs a 2-month fight, and before that, you know, he doesn't have really that much of a resume to begin with. You know, I know he beat James DeGale in a fight that I don't even think he won, but you know, I think he should, you know, do something. But I'm glad that he's at least calling out the best fighters. You know, even coming off of knockout losses, he's still calling out the best fighters in the division. You know what I'm saying? So I like that. I think more fighters need to do that. Jump back in the ring with another good fighter if it's possible. And the fans, you guys gotta keep, you know, make up your mind, man. Stick to what you say. Stick to what you believe in. You know, if a fighter, if you really think he's good, then say that. If you think he's not so good, but you're saying it because everybody else thinks it's popular to say it. If you think if you're saying a guy is a top 10 fighter and you truly don't believe that, but you're saying it because everybody else is saying it, stop doing that, man. Just, you know, be realistic with yourself. You know, stop going with the flow. Stop going with what everybody else is saying. All right, so I just wanted to speak on that real quick, and make sure you subscribe to the channel. Check out the interview that I did with Jamel Charlo. That's my last video I put up, and be on the lookout for more videos. I'm going to do the Anthony Darrell Sakio Bika rematch prediction video. I'll probably do that today, and be on the lookout for the Hopkins Kovalev prediction video. I gotta do that, and there's a lot of other fights coming up, so just be on the lookout for everything and subscribe to the channel. Peace.